entered college with an interest in doing something with science and hopefully with the environment and having that as an emphasis. I ended up studying Broadfield Science and got a degree, Bachelor's of Science in Broadfield Science with secondary education. And I taught high school chemistry for a little bit before going on to a master's degree. And I studied land resources with a certificate in energy analysis and policy. And that led to a 10+ year stint as a consultant in engineering and doing energy audits. The work was with commercial and industrial facilities, especially the contracts that the consulting firm had were with farming and farming industry at the time, which was great because if you think about Wisconsin and dairy farms, they have ventilation, they have water heating, they have refrigeration for milk cooling, and there were a lot of applications with older greenhouses that have boiler systems. I was mainly working with existing buildings, but even these big industrial facilities, you know, the only type of automation I can recall seeing on the farms were the ones that had anaerobic digesters, so renewable energy systems from the dairy manure, and they were generating gas and electricity. Those had dedicated operators which would work with a human-machine interface to continuously monitor the production of the renewable energy and all of the inputs that would go into creating it. So the agriculture sector was actually really big benefit in terms of exposing me to a variety of mechanical systems and evaluating them. And in Wisconsin, the state has a statewide efficiency program, and a lot of the consulting firms that worked on energy management type of consulting have contracts with that big statewide energy efficiency program. And the contracts that the firm I worked with were related to agriculture and also retro-commissioning of buildings. So the work kind of stemmed from the type of contracts that the consulting firm would have. And after doing that for so many years and traveling quite a bit, I found an opportunity that was presented to me. I had been serving as an advisory committee member for Northeast Wisconsin Technical College in Green Bay. So I was on the advisory committee for a college that offered an instructor position for an energy management technology program, which fit perfectly with what my career was at that time in doing energy audits and energy consulting. So I ended up teaching at the technical college for the last 9 years. The curriculum was already there for me to pick up and run with, which was fabulous. And of course, the advisory committee meets twice a year to guide the curriculum. And I had been hearing a lot more about an emphasis on smart buildings, smart building controls. I learned from the advisory committee just how much employment demand there was in low voltage control side of energy management. Of course, I wanted the curriculum to meet that demand. So thanks, honestly, so much to the Best Center for these workshops because it allowed me to learn as I had to teach about energy controls and expand into that market. I did not bring a lot of experience from the consulting world besides some monitoring. You know, we did data logging, of course, with current transducers for the electrical side and temperature, relative humidity type of monitoring. And then we'd evaluate that data, which certainly plays into the world of smart buildings and automated controls. But you know, as far as hooking the controls up, networking them, programming them, I learned all of that through the Best Center and through colleagues I've met through the network. So the existing curriculum was great to start with, but we did modify it to conform more towards building controls. And that involved taking out some water resource management classes and replacing them with a bigger emphasis. There was already an energy control strategies course, but we wanted a bigger emphasis. So we added a building automation systems networking course, and then ended up manipulating that energy control strategies course a little bit too. The Energy Management Technology degree has 64 credits in it, and it's a 2-year associate's degree. It also has a certificate, which involves just the core classes and not the general education credits. The curriculum originally had a 3-credit course called Energy Control Strategies, and I have since broken the 3 credits into Smart Start to BAS as 1 credit, and then 2 credits that still remain as Energy Control Strategies. So we just did a little modification, and those 7 credits that are part of the certificate stack into the Energy Management Technology Associate's degree. And then we also took out, like I mentioned earlier, Water Resources class and added BAS Networking, 3 credits of that. And that's just 7 credits that can start in the high school with a few credits taught by technical education, tech ed teachers. We had our first year with the high schools teaching, and this was 6 area high schools that took on the Smart Start to BAS course, along with teaching Automation 1, Automation 2, and DC electricity. Now with the first year, we had some students take the course, and maybe they're not to the point of where they're graduating yet. Of the students that they did survey that took these transcribed credit courses that are seniors, 1 is going into HVAC, and a couple of others are going into automation. They did not choose energy management technology, and I think that may be because they may not have taken Smart Start to BAS, or just with their last year just didn't get enough experience to understand it in context. So we'll see. It's still pretty new. And a lot of the credits that are taught at NWTC, our technical college, transfer into engineering programs at University of Wisconsin, a 4-year degree school. The courses that transfer to these 4-year universities are certainly the base, automation and electrical, power electricity, those type of courses transfer. The ones that are specific about energy management practices may transfer more as like an elective and not directly into those degrees at the 4-year institutions. There are programs at Chippewa Valley Technical College and Milwaukee Technical College and Green Bay that specifically deal with building automation controls. They're offered a bit differently, but we all have similar curriculum. And if you step back and look at beyond building automation controls, there are technical colleges in the state that also teach about energy management. So once every so many years, they get us all together and we develop a common technical skills attainment list of competencies. So ultimately there are, I have to count them, there are about 5 technical colleges in the state that have these shared technical skills that are related to energy programs in general. Yeah, Milwaukee's is centered around a 1-year technical diploma in facilities management to get graduates or those who have the technical diploma to be building operators or to help building operators, very focused on the mechanical systems. Whereas in Green Bay, with an associate's degree, you end up taking these energy management courses, maybe energy accounting, investment analysis as part of those 64 credits, and then that may give you an opportunity to go on to a 4-year school. So when you look at a degree program like that we offer at NWTC in Green Bay, it kind of gives you that perhaps an opportunity for future studies to get a bachelor's degree, whereas it might take a little more work for a technical diploma. Both very valuable for different reasons. Yeah. One graduate this year is going to University of Wisconsin, Green Bay in town to study electrical engineering, and then a different student is transferring to UW Milwaukee, where his credits will be used towards environmental engineering. As far as the job market and what kind of drove these changes, we heard more from these control companies. They need people with more experience, and energy management has classes in energy energy auditing and energy investment analysis and energy accounting. So kind of just looking at a building holistically and how it benchmarks related to other buildings of similar performance. But the employers were looking for graduates that could make changes within these buildings and make them adapt to include smart controls, or if they have existing controls, use them to create an efficient building, right? Building operation. So as far as the job market goes, we've had 100% employment the whole time that I've been teaching at the college. Granted, it's a small program with not a huge amount of graduates each year, but they're all gainfully employed. And most of them are going into the world of building automation controls. And the other handful are going into energy consulting and working for consulting firms, utility efficiency programs, or even nonprofits that do work with energy systems. If you look at the region that the college serves, it does serve areas that are over an hour away. So we do have some students who commute over an hour one way for their classes, and that's not unusual for all of the programs at our school. The technical colleges really focus on practical, hands-on experiences, and that has been a huge emphasis that we put into our college-wide efforts, is to provide the real-life client-based learning, service project learning, okay? So every year my students do lighting audits, and they also do full commercial energy audits, and we work with nonprofits like our local Oneida or Menominee Nations for those audits, as well as the city of Green Bay. So that has worked out really well to give our students real life experience and make them sweat in front of clients that they have to report to. Yeah, so our competencies for some of those courses will include report to a group of decision makers, so it is embedded in the course. We encourage students to be involved in the student clubs and classes. We're always trying to attend any industry events, conferences and such. And the school does a good job of making all programs require a resume, a cover letter, and a practice interview. If they don't have a real interview, they require that before they graduate. And helping to facilitate finding jobs is fun. So yeah, I'd like to see the students graduate happy with a good job. So our students get to see live current transducer information, which basically means live solar production. They get to see live sub-metering of the different parts of the building and the consumption of the building, because we have a building that we can use as a living laboratory. So what we did most recently, for example, is help to create a new kiosk screen to visualize that data, the solar production and the consumption. So students got to see the hardware behind those data points, and then also how that graphic screen is created to help visualize that data. But there is so much happening that we haven't developed specific curriculum, worksheet around it. I think as instructors, we're all just kind of trying to start to incorporate more of that data analytics or visualization into what we're doing. Decarbonization is the big buzzword. And I can tell you, in the building that we work in, the Energy Center, the Great Lakes Energy Education Center, a lot of the work that we're doing is gaining attention, because some of the industry wants to do the same things we are doing. And that is to create energy using renewables like solar, and to operate very efficiently using things like geothermal and variable refrigerant flow heat pump technology. So there's a lot of buzz around very low and renewable energy use to decarbonize. And on top of that, how do you size perhaps a solar array to meet a building's needs? How do you plan for a battery storage type of technology to help disconnect from the grid, or get the best rate and decarbonize overall? And in order to size things like that or operate very efficiently, data analytics is certainly playing a big role in all of these technologies moving forward. And I have seen a lot of the big companies out there propose to our college a way to visualize data in a more of a 3D animation, so you can easily see any standout and any trend and anomaly that would help us to see, where opportunities are to save energy, or perhaps to, ramp up the amount of production we have of battery or solar to meet those needs. We teach programming, and I've, along with the Best Center, kind of traveled through some different control companies as part of the workshops. I've purchased different brands like ALC controllers. Our school building runs on Siemens, and we have access to all of the building controls at our school, read-only access. They don't let me modify anything, but that's been fantastic to learn from, and students to diagnose if we see something interesting. We get to work with facilities. So we have exposure to ALC, Siemens, and then of course Contemporary Controls, the open protocol, non-license agreement. So when it comes to creating opportunities for students, I think it's good that they're exposed to a variety of control schemes. And then when it comes to programming, they've used block logic programming by the time they graduate with a contemporary controls line. And I know the students that work at the integration company, they're often put to work as the service folks, and they're pulling wires through commercial new construction, or additions is typically what their initial role is. And then I do know a student who progressed in that company to be a block logic programmer for the integration. We used to advertise a salary, and it would be $48,500. And that was when I first started with the college 9 years ago. So they must have gotten that number from surveying the students, I'm guessing, the graduates. But I can tell you that right away when I started and the graduates started working, either in consulting or in building controls, I was hearing, I make more than what they advertise on that marketing piece. So that was great news. And just recently, I have a student who is working for a building controls company, a well-known one. He's a building automation technician. He had some experience that he gained while he was a student. So he was attending full-time at our technical college as a student, and also working part-time at an integration company, a building automation integration company. And in fact, that integration company loved hiring our current students as part-time, $15 an hour paid, essentially interns, while they were going to college. And this student, he built upon that opportunity and ended up landing this great job salary before he even graduated. And he is making $70,000 a year. He has a company car, a cell phone, and a company computer. So he's very excited to let the class know about all those achievements. And that's pretty common from what I'm hearing from these folks. So I've had students who are older than me come in with experience in very different fields. It has been a total mix through the 9 years I've been teaching. Most recently, for example, I have a student who's an auto mechanic. And it's great when they apply that mechanical knowledge to the class. And then I also have students who are right out of high school, and they find this degree program because they're interested in typically some more environmental aspects of energy management technology and saving resources. So it's kind of been all over the board. And I typically don't have students who come in with a background in energy management or even building operation. Although there's an anomaly, this last semester I had a student who is in that role managing energy for rental properties. He has his CEM already, or he's an energy manager in training, and then he was just taking some courses to gain more knowledge in building automation controls. With the energy management degree, they would work more in the consulting side, although some industrial plants, especially worldwide companies, are trying to meet ESG standards. So I I wouldn't hesitate that the students who graduate from this kind of program could apply for the energy manager type roles that some of those worldwide companies employ. Like the paper mills in our area certainly have positions where people are managing the sustainability efforts of these global corporations. Energy advisor, energy auditor, project manager might typically be some of those consulting titles. I know some students who ended up working up from an energy advisor, maybe data collection type position, into more of a project management role in managing clients. So energy management technology, typically how I give the pitch is I talk about utility bills, and that really seems to strike a chord, and also to understand that utilities want people to manage their energy so that we don't put strain on the grid. There's plenty of resources available and costs stay down. So when it comes to explaining what the role or position is, I try to explain that that type of initiative exists out there, and then also the titles that we've been talking about, especially emphasizing the demand for smart buildings. Smart buildings seems to be a buzzword or term that a lot of people can relate to. That seems to be a way to make the connection that these are careers that have existed and are certainly emerging and growing for the industries out there. I think that the news of the careers in this kind of industry just needs to get out there. I grew up in a house where my dad was a heating and cooling guy, and I understood building mechanical systems from a young age. And I think that if people understood from maybe young on just how cool these technologies are getting in terms of how, you know, we can help to save money, save resources, and also just interact with these buildings and how they're changing their operations and how they make us comfortable. I just think that it's a whole new growing world that I don't know that a lot of people are thinking about, but they should be.